If you enjoy movies, comic books, and pop culture, be sure to like and subscribe.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the REC Podcast, brought to you by REC Comics and Collectibles. I'm your host, Roman Chavez, and with me as always,
Erik.
the gentleman dandy.
Ooh, I love it.
And on the ones and twos, we have the Big Tuna. Woo! You can follow us on Instagram at REC Podcast. You can follow myself at Roman REC Podcast. You can follow the shop at REC Comics and come check us out locally at 7679 North Union Boulevard in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And you can find Erik DJing,
Sure.
beatboxing, street dancing, all right?
Oh.
Yeah, if you see him out there, if you think it's an Erik Icarus, go get a photo. Send me a photo, all right?
Yeah. I think we got to do something. Come get me a selfie doing that.
How are you doing this week, brother?
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing okay. We're tired.
We're very tired,
We got a lot
kids.
going on.
Yeah, this week we have Free Comic Book Day on Saturday, May 6th.
It's killing us very slowly.
Yes.
But we're excited, though.
Very excited. We hope that you guys come in and see us and enjoy the festivities. We're going to be having deals and boxes and raffles. Oh, my.
Ooh.
Big Tuna, what you up to this week, brother?
Man, I don't even know anymore. Obviously, I'm prepared. This year, it happens every so many years this year. Cinco de Mayo is on May 5th. Getting ready for that.
There's also an Ocho de Mayo, too. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kids, we also have May the 4th coming up. May the 4th is now Star Wars Day.
Sure.
I think it also signifies the release of the first film. I actually think it was Memorial Day, but May the 4th be with you.
What was the one you were pitching?
I
Revenge of the 5th?
That's not me pitching. That exists.
Revenge of the 5th?
Exists.
It does.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Should it be Revenge of the 6th? That's phonetically closer. Right?
Yeah,
Interesting.
It is.
I give it a day, and then Revenge of the 6th.
Yeah. Just throwing that
you
out.
got us there.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing Star Wars themed boxes in the shop starting May 3rd, which is going to be tomorrow for us. Hopefully you hear this by the weekend because there are limited quantities. They have exclusive books, raffle tickets. We're giving away some awesome stuff, guys, so definitely come by the store and check it out. But with Star Wars on the mind, I've been on a Star Wars bender? I was going to say bend, but yeah, bender. And I can't get enough right now. Not OTC, but oddly enough, prequels. Like, I'm in that era right now, and I'm just really enjoying it. And it begs the question. As three different guys who are in, this nerd realm, but in three different ways, Star Wars is such a phenomenon. Like, what's it mean to you? What are some really memorable moments? What are some things you don't like? Let's go positive beat.
I think we'd throw it to you two first.
Okay.
Because you've been to more Comic-Cons. Is there an awesome Star Wars moment from Comic-Con that you both remember?
I don't know that they've ever done anything Star Wars
really?
reveal there because they have Celebration. So
that's been coinciding with Comic-Con for...
I mean, not so much coinciding, but every year there's a celebration for, I would say, at least 15 years.
Okay, so there's nothing really there.
They debut video game stuff there. They'll talk, like Dark Horse, when they were the majority, they were doing, Star Wars stuff for their comics, but I don't know, Jordan, do you have a moment?
I mean, like, probably the biggest moments that you would get at Comic-Con would be, like, seeing, like, not just, like, the cosplay where it's like, oh, I have this, like, blue lightsaber from Walmart, but, like, high-end costume stuff.
Oh,
like,
good pull.
People that are, like fully invested in, like, their Stormtrooper armor, that sort of stuff. So really cool to see there. That's also something, Star Wars is something that you see a lot of families do as their costumes.
Yeah.
So you'll see, like, a dad as Obi-Wan, a mom as Leia, the kid as Luke. I mean, that brings in a whole lot of questions. But you do get to see some cool stuff. On the showroom floor, some of the vendors and exhibitors would have miniatures or figures. They would have props or replicas, costumes, some of those different things. So we definitely got to see some of those things. Yeah. Definitely not the big reveal stuff.
Yeah.
But you always knew there's always a Star Wars presence at Comic-Con because Comic-Con attendees, that's like the heart of the Star Wars fandom. So they are pulling those those Venn diagrams, if they're a hard rock band, are a perfect circle.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
You did it. That was a great idea. Yeah, like the cosplay is out of this world. It's better than you see, some of these fan-made things online. Like, you're like, oh, this guy, if he strikes me down, I will become more powerful than he can imagine.
Right.
The Darth Vader with the Jar Jar on the chef plate. You seen that guy?
I think so.
Yeah, he like comes out. He's Chef Vader, and he's got like a full chef's outfit, but the Darth Vader mask, and he has a Jar Jar Binks with an apple on a plate. Like, he shows that off. And he goes quite a bit. I've seen him a few years around. Great replicas. Hasbro always does some type of exclusive. I remember one exclusive in particular that Jordan wanted to buy for nothing else but reflip, and it was a Boba Fett. Had to have been 40th anniversary.
Yeah, it was the black when they did
Black
the
series,
the Black series,
early Black series too, and it was like a box set. It had different weapons. Had Han Solo and the Carbonite. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a really, really cool thing. Like, I'm always trying to pick up the exclusives, bring them here in the shop for you guys.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, man.
No, I'm just saying that's awesome.
That's very cool.
Have you met any of the actors from any of the movies or shows?
So, up until very recently, I think that the Star Wars gang was not really into the con circuit.
Okay.
You would see ancillary people.
Well, because they do cross over, like, Mark Hamill does the
Yes,
Joker.
Mark Hamill you'd see at these places, but you rarely see them for Star Wars.
Fair enough.
But there are, you get to see the side characters.
You mean up in the cafeteria level?
No, yeah, working. No, like
Well, not working, but they sit at the booze and you have to go up there. And I felt bad. I saw Dante from Clerks there looking real lonely.
Yeah, but he still makes a few G's a weekend.
Yeah, good for him.
But oh no, I just got off track. But there was a.
I did see at one of the booths where you could do the autograph and the picture on the showroom floor. I did see Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca.
Nice.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah.
And often their stalls will have their name, maybe some pictures, so it's like you may be like, I don't know the name, but wait a minute, I recognize them from this movie or something. And like, as soon as you see the name, you see the Star Wars logo, you see Chewbacca, there's a picture of him like without the Chewbacca head on, but like in the rest
Terrifying.
of the yeah, absolutely, yeah, exactly. Kind of like a reverse centaur. But yeah, so like walked by and saw him, that sort of thing. But really not too much that you would have seen from the original trilogy. And then with the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy, maybe we call it, those actors that are known, like that are in those movies, they're not going to the Comic-Cons for those things.
No.
Daisy Ridley is not sitting there signing autographs. Oscar Isaac is not there. I think that you're more likely to see someone who was Rebel Pilot number 2 in Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Like
Dak from Empire Strikes Back.
I was Wedge Antilles' wingman, But it's funny that
Yes.
I love that question, and because you're seeing it now.
Right.
You're seeing it with Hayden Christensen, with Ewan McGregor. You're seeing these guys who not only are going to these conventions. They just were both at Celebration. They were both at Celebration last year. I don't know if they went to the UK one this year, but one of our customers, shout out to Melanie, she went. She met them, got them to sign stuff.
Oh, wow,
she has
dude.
3 tattoos of Ewan McGregor as different Obi-Wans. She's a horse doctor. It's horse doctor.
No, it's horse doctor. Yeah.
And
awesome.
It's crazy because there was a great clip of Hayden Christensen, of him like coming out and everybody just going nuts, just like clapping.
Never thought I'd hear about that day ever.
And I keep saying this, it's because those prequel kids grew up. So the same kids who saw it in 77 that
Right.
were like 10, 7 to 16 or whatever. That's why their Star Wars is that. Well, those kids who were born in the 90s, 80s like us, their Star Wars are the prequels.
Right, but they got to see their parents be so very disappointed leaving the theater.
Yes, which they didn't get to enjoy. So, they were first in. So it's really cool to see them go out there. It's really great seeing these guys reprise roles and do things that we really wanted to see these characters do.
Sure.
On the notion of the beginning, do either of you remember the first time you watched Star Wars?
Yes. My dad had them on Laserdisc.
Holy crap.
So I got to experience the trilogy. I had to have been like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So sat down and watched all 3 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my first real experience with it.
Yeah.
But then.
And do you remember really?
Oh
liking
God,
it
yeah,
when you were a
big
kid?
time. I did. Yeah. It's crazy how. Again, this is before a time before CGI kind of blankets everything. So you can get pulled into the story, and and the kids still love the first original trilogy.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Yeah, it does speak to generations. It definitely with the boys.
I'd say the women too.
Do you think so?
Oh, big time, yeah.
I find more Star Wars fans now, but like
Right.
when we were kids, the
Right.
girls our age weren't talking about Star Wars.
Maybe not then.
Yeah.
I would say when they got older, they became more entrenched with the trilogy. I did see it again, though, because I don't know if you remember, in '97, they re-released
I
them
do
in the
remember.
theater with some of the George Lucas's
Shenanigans
in there, and it was odd to see.
'Cause it's been cut,
It
what?
was odd to see Jabba walking,
Yeah.
and him in being in the first movie.
Especially his like little
Yeah.
like man legs.
No, he had a tail. He's
I know,
like
yeah, he's
slug.
like slithering.
And then Han steps on his tail, and it was goofy. And
It's
stupid.
so bad. Like
It really
it's-
is.
It doesn't make anything better.
No,
And
it doesn't add anything.
I don't get it because there's at least, what would you say, Jordan, 3 to 4 cuts of the film.
Yeah, between
Oh, God.
different remasters and re-releases
Yeah.
and these things, and we'll get into this later in the episode because my biggest frustration with Star Wars is the meddling. I don't care who does it. I don't care if it's the original creator or not. But that's something I don't like. I think that's not good for science fiction or for storytelling. We'll come back to that later. I do want to say, though, that if I had to pin a specific memory on Star Wars, I definitely did see the re-release of A New Hope when it did come back out in theaters.
Nice.
I don't think I saw Empire or Jedi when they re-released those movies. They did them, I think, a few months apart.
Yeah, a few months,
something like that.
yeah.
Excuse me. But I mean, ever since I was a kid, we had neighbors that had the VHS copies, and the VHS copies where it's like the half.
Yeah, Yoda,
Yeah.
Vader.
Yoda, Vader,
Yeah.
and Stormtrooper maybe I think.
I think, yeah, you're right.
But so just they were always on. They were always on, and even from being a little kid, if I saw it was on, I had to finish it. And so
You start me, you finish me, Star Wars. All right.
yeah, exactly. It's the VHS version of Tremors on TBS. It's always on, and I gotta finish it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I love Tremors too.
No Reba.
No.
But when it comes to Star Wars, I think that for so many people, it tells this big story. It pulls some Arthurian legend. It pulls some of that classic, the monomyth as they refer to it, the hero's journey as it's sometimes called. It follows a similar archetype. I know some people will hit Star Wars and Harry Potter and they'll be like, oh my gosh, it's like pretty much the same story. And it's
Every story's like
yes,
that.
that's why I call it the monomyth, the one
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So much of fiction.
Basically,
Going-
was it Epic of
Epic
Gilgamesh?
of Gilgamesh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So, ancient Sumeria. We're talking about the oldest written oldest written document essentially in human history in the first written language, the oldest that we have. Like it's that same story again. What I think pulls so many people into Star Wars is that they find something in the story that they see in themselves. And I think that when you look at the 80s and 90s kids, us, when you look at our parents' generation who were watching it in the 70s and these things, the universe was still very small. The Star Wars universe began expanding in our generation with the prequels, but the universe was still small. I mean, we're talking now about, we're talking about Revenge of the Sith being 2005.
Right.
And its release.
Yeah.
And that gave us 6 movies, and that was pretty much it. But now, since then, since you get in the late aughts into the teens, you start getting TV series, you start getting a more in depth with the extended universe before it kind of gets all consolidated again, and it starts getting put into these marketed places. We're going to talk about video games in a minute. The comic books have been fairly popular the last few years. That has helped increase the universe where people are able to see a reflection of themselves. And I think that's why so many people, that's why Disney has a whole part of their theme park that's a Star Wars park. I don't think you would have had a Galaxy's Edge 15 years ago. Yeah. Even though Star Wars it's a movie series that prints money until 2005. That gave us our 6th movie. And that was it.
Yeah,
and that was
dude.
it. And so I think that one of the reasons why we have seen now more girls involved and more medium. You know, you got comics and video games, and you've got all these different things. Yes, there was an extended universe prior to the prequels. Yes, there was Shadows of the Empire. Yes, there was Heir of the Jedi, or so. I mean, there was all these different things that did exist, but they were all in book form, and they were really only accessible to the people that were the diehards already. You were preaching to the choir. But now there's so much Star Wars product out there. Some might say too much, but there's a lot out there. You go into Disney Plus, and you're going to find hours worth of content, whether it's their Vision shorts, whether it's the original Clone Wars series.
Yeah.
We've got the Disney Plus series with Mando, with Obi-Wan. We've got this expanded universe, very much, that I think does help people see themselves in the story more, and that's what's bringing more fans in.
Ooh, I can dig it.
I too can dig that.
What about your first foyer?
I'm a weird kid. I was always a weird kid. I've said it here before. I didn't care for Batman '89. I wasn't a big fan of Batman Returns, though I like it better. And I was young when those things came out. I always thought Star Wars looked really cool. And I'm sorry, Mark Hamill, I'm not a big fan of your portrayal of Luke Skywalker.
Wow.
Like, I mean, it's just, he's very whiny in the first one. No. I enjoy him, but then again, Luke Skywalker in Return, I don't like his jump from I can, stand on my heads, lift rocks, and then, just being the Jedi Master. But that's not his fault. He's portraying those things. As I have discovered with the prequels, these are George Lucas's problems, and you guys did the best you could. I mean, it's not the fact that Han Solo is the coolest guy in the universe. It's that Harrison Ford is the coolest guy in the universe,
right.
Okay?
Even when they wrote that movie,
yes,
the first one's ready. I can't imagine those actors being very overtly thinking that's going to explode
No.
like that. They were probably, it's going to be a goofy space movie.
Yeah,
we'll make a couple bucks, no biggie.
Yeah,
but to think to that, because I know Mark Hamill said in an interview I wanted to play Luke this whiny a little right in the first movie, so it was time to grow. You didn't know you were going to get those two other movies, so I think it was just kind of how he acted at that time. But kudos to him for getting better.
I will also say I did see a recent interview. I believe it was with I'm fairly certain the name is Sam Whitaker. He did voice work. I believe he was Darth Maul in the Rebels series.
Oh yeah.
He also did the motion capture voice work for The Force Unleashed as Starkiller?
Yeah, Starkiller.
He did. He was speaking. I saw an Instagram video today, actually, where he described one of the reasons he thinks and believes that the change we get in Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi was so
abrupt.
It was so painful.
Yeah.
And that is, you have a character that is beloved and that people understand, and between these stories, you have this huge shift.
Yeah.
And if we are fine seeing the shift.
Yes.
But it's when the shift happens in between. Could you imagine watching episode 2 and then in episode 3 Anakin's already on the dark side?
Yeah.
Like, you would feel robbed of the richness of that story. And I do think I might get a lot of crap for this. I think that in 10 years, people are going to feel better about the sequel trilogy. Not that they're going to be so beloved, but I think people will understand the context better because we are getting filled in stories.
Yes.
And so, again, we may not ever get another Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, but we might get we might get a series, we might get an animated series that shows us Luke building the Jedi Order, a young Ben Solo, that helps fill in that story so that when we see him, I just watched Last Jedi with my son, you see him throw that lightsaber off the cliff. Like, I remember when we watched it in theaters, this guy was like, "What the?"
Yeah,
everyone because no one was expecting it.
That's true.
It's hard to do for a beloved character for sure.
Yeah, that was a little gutsy. I'll give him that. But why? Like Jordan's saying, it's like, I need to know.
Yes.
I want the why.
And the best thing about Star Wars had always been the stuff between. The stuff between the saga films. And in live action, we don't see that until like Rogue One, because Rogue One was the first non-saga film, right? Okay. Saga just being the pairs of three, or pairs, the trilogies, when when it comes to the original trilogy, what I still find fond, what I still find, which I will refer to as OTC, what I still find is like how fantastic the practical effects still look.
Of course,
because we're blowing up a little model ship that's amazing.
Right. The attention to detail.
Yes.
Let's circle back real quick. What was the first time you watched Star Wars? Real quick.
I was saying, thank you for bringing this back. I didn't care for the Star Wars movies when I was a kid. I was probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And I thought that they looked cool, but I didn't like the acting.
Sure.
And the laser swords, while cool, they looked really bad when they were igniting because it would like jump. It was like, so it was just like, man, this is really cool. So even as a kid, I was like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff here, but I'm not digging.
Like aesthetically, you could appreciate it.
Yes, I liked the characters. Right. I liked Darth Vader. The blackest brother in the universe.
Of course.
I liked so much of it aesthetically. It just I didn't care for the story, and that part about Luke Skywalker, the jump from Episode 1, or from A New Hope to Empire. Again, we have this weird jump, and then definitely from Return of the Jedi to Empire is like, or Empire to Return of the Jedi. You're just like, what? Like, I want to see him train. Who's training him? Is he just like, who's talking to him?
He's getting forced. The ghosts are training him.
So he's getting a little ghost action, but as we know in the novels, we find him going to planets, looking for Force-sensitive people, restoring the Jedi Order, falling in love with an assassin, Mara Jade.
But that's against the rules.
There are no rules. He's the last Jedi, bro.
But he's got to enforce the rules.
Well, something that was negated almost immediately when George Lucas or when Lucasfilm was purchased was no expanded universe stuff.
It's all gone, which is a bummer.
And one of the big things is you discover this idea of the gray path, of the gray Jedi. And Luke is more of a gray Jedi than he is a Jedi, and definitely a Sith, because Mace Windu would also fit into that.
Yes.
Because Mace Windu's fight style is a Sith style.
Right.
Is it possible for someone to pray the gray away?
Yeah, you could.
Ba-ba-boo.
I think you could.
And there's just a lot of stuff fleshed out in there, and those are the actual story of these characters is what makes them actually good.
Yes.
So our Star Wars,
right,
our trilogy,
because getting back to what you're saying, the practical effects still hold up.
Yes.
Now we're getting into our thing.
Yes.
Which relying less on practical. It's still there, still pretty prevalent. Sets are being built.
Sets look good.
Blue screen, green screen is not overtly used.
Yeah.
You can tell there was still some real locations there.
But far less.
Way far less.
I mean, the entire droid fight on, let's just say, Phantom Menace. It was a big
We'll start
deal.
there. It was a huge deal. People camped out.
98? 99.
99. Yes. People camped out for months to be first in line.
I know somebody who was there for 40 nights.
There you go.
That's how long Jesus was in the desert.
Yeah, Noah had to sail the seas for that long too.
And it was a phenomenon because this freaking thing that George Lucas built of like, no, you can't have it. Please give it to us. We want it.
Right.
No, you can't have it.
Yeah.
Okay, here.
Right.
You were getting everything.
Well, we're getting all the things that we loved, but they weren't fleshed out yet, which I can appreciate. But come on, man.
So it's huge. We're gonna see the origin of Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. It really was.
That is so crazy when we're kids. We're 8th grade going into 9th grade, whatever it is.
It was the Summer of Love.
Summer of Love.
Woodstock '99 was the thing.
Yeah.
People falling in love there.
Yeah.
It was a great summer.
Limp Bizkit breaks stuff, destroys Woodstock. This thing looked amazing.
The first thing you see, I remember going to meet Joe Black.
Oh,
Meet Joe Black and The Siege.
Yes,
both those movies.
2 movies that had the trailer for the Phantom Menace.
I did not know that.
And
I love how
actually
you guys know
walking in there, watching it, and then with about more than half of the theater getting up and leaving.
Wow.
Yeah, just to watch a 2-minute trailer, and I will still get chills to this day when I see Darth Maul light up both sides of his staff.
It sucks so bad.
So amazing
that you can tell they wanted to keep it secret, but they had to.
They give you something.
They had to give you something because the first time we see Darth Maul light up his lightsaber, he only lights it up half, and he fights Qui-Gon in the desert.
Yes,
which sounds like an awesome song. So you can tell when he comes out at the in Duel of the Fates, he hits one, and then he hits two, and that would have hit so hard if that was the first time we saw it.
Oh God, yeah.
I would.
But to your point, they have to.
But they don't need to. It's Star Wars.
But you know how everyone lost their mind.
Yeah, we lost our mind.
And it's burned into my memory.
It is. Yeah.
So everything was set up great for Phantom Menace.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh God, yeah. Liam Neeson, yeah.
A young strapping Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, played by Ewan McGregor. Gorgeous.
God,
man.
I mean, just.
And then, of course, who I thought was the most gorgeous woman in the world for a while, Natalie Portman.
Really?
Did.
I think she's very regally, beautiful. I don't find her attractive.
Sure.
But and I didn't find her attractive then.
No, I oddly didn't either.
Yeah.
It was what, but then, okay, let's get back into the movie. We were all disappointed, I'm assuming, all three of us.
No, I loved it.
Okay.
The first time I saw it, I loved it.
Fair enough.
Because that was the first time I got to see Star Wars in the movie theater.
And they have the Star Wars experience.
And it just blew my mind. And I mean, right out the gate, we see them negotiating with the Separatists. We're learning about some weird political stuff.
We love trade deals. Kids love that.
I love a good trade federation. a good safe embargo on a sanctioned body. But we see this Qui-Gon. We don't know. Like, this is the first time we're seeing another Jedi outside of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker and Yoda. So, like, for 20 years, it's just been these three guys.
Sure.
And this first one we get, not only is he cool, he looks good, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. We're seeing right off the bat, we see, like, 2 or 3 different types of droids.
Oh, yeah.
Lasers, light, deflecting. Oh, my gosh. Because we never got good lightsaber battles. Just a lot of this.
They were very hindered by their movements.
Yes.
Again, 99, things are catching up. Technology's catching up.
So good. For some reason, they have super speed that they never address again.
They're doing a lot more force pushes.
Which, I wish they would just say, when we use the Force, it drains us. It drains us a bit.
Yeah, that's why we can't do it all the time. And then, of course, we get the introduction of Mace Windu. Come on now. How cool was that?
The actual blackest brother in the universe.
Darn right.
He's got a purple lightsaber. Yeah. What's that about?
He wrote it in his contract.
Yeah.
It was an homage to Prince, actually.
But now it's hilarious because it's been since he did that, they've actually taken it. And his style is now that Sith style, and blue.
It's got a weird name.
Yeah, blue and red make purple.
Right.
So like the fans, we've created this thing where he's like, oh, I just want something cooler.
Oh God, yeah. That's all it really was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did say it was a homage to Prince. He probably a little BSing though, but
yeah.
We'll say though, not a fan of the. We all know this is pod racing kills the movie.
It's cool. It's just it doesn't need to be in the movie.
It didn't even say it. Everyone, I feel bad for the kid. Help me out here. What was
I don't know the kid's name.
Jake Lloyd.
Thank
you.
Jake
Lloyd.
I feel bad for him. He did what he could. He was fine.
But he's just a bad actor.
He just kind of is.
And it's Hollywood's fault for saying you guys will like this turd of an actor. Oh, I mean, I know he went through hard stuff, but it's just bad. He's just bad. He was bad in Jingle All the Way.
Oh yeah, Power Man.
Yeah, right? Power Man. Schwarzenegger.
I can't remember what that guy's name was. The name of the superhero.
Power Man.
Was it Power Man?
I think it's Turbo Man.
Oh, Turbo Man.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like,
and that's crazy because I have not seen the movie.
What?
I know that, but I've not seen Jingle.
Dude, that's like a what?
Dude,
I have a reverse bucket list stuff I never want to happen before I die. I never want to watch that movie.
You're crazy. It's so good.
It's super funny. Sinbad kills it.
Phil Hartman is so funny in that movie too.
Yeah, Phil Hartman's great. Yeah,
he's so good in that.
Yeah. And we're just gonna do a Turbo Man.
Yeah, let's just. But yeah, and then of course we got the abysmal Jar Jar.
Yes.
We don't need to go too hard into it, but
I did not like Jar Jar.
I vividly remember going, he's not going to be in the whole movie, is he?
Yeah.
And yeah, sure enough, he was. We all know that there's a theory out there that he was a Sith in disguise. He was a plant put there.
Cowards don't have the balls because there's so many
there
moments.
is some interesting internet.
Yes.
Evidence out there. You should just look it up.
Look up Darth Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar. There's some interesting evidence out there.
Fascinating.
But there, for reals though, he was supposed to be a bigger part of that trilogy. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Brings the movie down. Yeah. I will say we all can agree that maybe the last 15 minutes of that movie is great.
Yeah.
The
space fights are always good.
Sure.
lightsaber fights at that point, those were the best lightsaber fights we had ever seen. So blew me away.
Yeah, and we got to just give credit where credit's due. John Williams' score saves that movie.
Holy crap, it's so good.
And any scene, even the bad scenes, I'm digging it because of John Williams.
Jordan's a huge, I know everybody likes John Williams, but Jordan likes movie soundtracks and everything. Are you over Williams?
John Williams was my number one
Okay.
until I got into Nolan and Hans Zimmer took the reins.
Interesting.
Now I will say so for me, my Star Wars Episode 1 experience was going to the mall, and the mall our mall had at one point had 2 theaters. They were like left or right next to the Kmart, and they had posters inside the mall. And then my brother and I, we were latchkeys. It's like, here's $10. It's the '90s, so you can kill hours at the mall with $10.
Kids are safe.
Sure.
And I walked by and I saw the poster, and it was so clever. Like, kudos to the person, the graphic designer for Lucasfilm that did this back in 1998, of having a young Jake Lloyd. And he's kind of walking towards the camera, and there's that the home that's very reminiscent of Ben and Uncle Owen. I'm sorry,
Uncle Owen. Yeah.
Owen and Beru, sure.
Yeah.
And the shadow was Darth Vader. Such a clever visual, because you see it and you instantly know that kid is gonna that's Anakin.
How does this kid become Darth Vader?
Super awesome. I remember walking up to it and hearing White Snake as I put my hand on it. Now I know what love is. But then when I was watching the movie, even as a kid, and trying to watch him back, my son's kind of into Star Wars. He really likes the original trilogy stuff, and he likes the Lego Star Wars stuff that they've done, which is weirdly watchable.
Yeah,
it's actually
it's good.
There's some weirdly enjoyable stuff out there, but as a kid. And it's more so a problem in the prequel trilogy. The editing is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It genuinely would take you out of a scene, because I went back and watching episode 1 with my son, and I'm like, Duel of the Fates, here we go. They're running to their ships, the Naboo fighters, and these things. They turn, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And then you see Darth Maul there. They're starting to fight, and then it's a wipe, and then you're seeing something else.
and it's always the same slow wipe.
It's a wipe. Yeah, it's crazy, because Lucas was so heavily into film school. I mean, a film school professor directed Empire. But did they not teach classes on editing? It's so poorly done. If Lucas did nothing, if he touched the movies in no way except giving us maybe a little bit of retooling with the editing, that's the only thing I would have wanted to see. But it pulls you out, and you see it especially in 2 and 3. There'll be a dialogue scene where it's Obi-Wan's I'm on Camino, and then all of a sudden it's Anakin, and he's looking at Padme, and they're giving each other the eyes, and then it's back and it's raining, and he's Boba, go to Slave One, and little Boba Fett's turning on the ship, and Obi-Wan's I have to go after him. And it's back to Anakin, and he's I don't like sand. And then I'm not kidding.
He's not wrong. It's true. It's distracting.
It's so terrible. Now, again, you do see some of those problems in the OG trilogy. One of my biggest complaints of Star Wars, my favorite movie is Empire.
Yeah. It's the best one. I don't know if it's my favorite.
It's my favorite out of all of the trilogies, if you will. But there's a problem with the editing in Empire, and I'm not the first person to notice this. If I say this and you realize it now, put in the comments if you realized it now from me saying this. But there is a pacing problem that I think is very much related to the editing in Empire Strikes Back, and here's what I mean. Luke leaves Hoth. Obi-Wan's ghost tells him to go to Dagobah to find Yoda, right? So he goes there, and he trains there. What's happening with everybody else that we only ever see, besides Darth Vader and his occasional bath, his hose down that he gets? We see Han, we see the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
Okay. You see them run. They're on the run from the Star Destroyers, and then they go out with the trash. They're attached to the Star Destroyer. There's the whole thing with the asteroid, with the worm in the asteroid. They go to Cloud City, and all this is happening. When you watch those scenes, it feels like this is maybe taking place in a day. Luke is training with Yoda. The way it's edited, the way we see this back and forth, it heavily suggests that this is a concurrent storyline, that these are happening essentially simultaneously.
Yeah.
I know there's probably someone out there who's like, well, Dagobah's close to a black hole and therefore time. But like,
That's kind of how I'd reconcile
I'm
that.
I'm sorry. Like, so Luke gets to Cloud City, and you've got all the stuff that happens. It feels like Han and Leia and Chewie, that they've been on the run from the Empire for like a day. Luke has trained with Yoda, but we see his progression very much not what you would expect. Like, oh my gosh, that was a really efficient half-hour workout. You went from knocking over a bowl to picking up an X-Wing out of a swamp. Like, it's just, again...
It's sloppy.
It's sloppy. It's frustrating because, again, I think some of it is, leaning back on the problems when it comes to the editing. Going back to the prequel trilogy, though, when we talk about CG and special effects, the movies begin to lean too much on special effects, and if there's no other example of this, it's the fact that not a single physical costume was produced for the clone troopers. Every shot of the clone troopers you don't see them in episode 1 because they don't exist yet. In episode 2 and in episode 3, every shot of a clone trooper is a CG. And so again, you start to realize, like, yes, I get that Grievous can't be done in a practical way for sure, but man, you get some weird Blade 2-esque like marionette movements with some of these things.
True, man.
Very Jello-like.
Yes, very Jello-like. I remember watching episode 2 and being like, oh my gosh, like, Yoda shows up with the clone troopers, and then, you've got Obi-Wan and Anakin. Anakin loses a hand. Darth Tyrannus, you got Christopher Lee there. Dracula's ready to suck some blood. Yoda, pulls his lightsaber, and you're gonna get it, and it's just flipping. It's just flipping and flipping.
I kind of like that part.
I get why some people like it, but what's frustrating...
I liked it.
What's frustrating is that I think when you put that fight, the Yoda and Darth Tyrannus fight, when you put those next to Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar, like,
it's the weakest. You're right.
It's just It's one of those things where it's like, if it's all I get, I appreciate, but I saw better before and I see better after.
It's true.
I agree with you. I think what it did for me was that it caught me off guard. We're in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and I'm previewing this movie. So this is the first Star Wars movie that I'm working in a movie theater. And I get to preview this movie. I had no idea they were going to do any... Because really, we still don't see Yoda do anything in episode 1. He's just around, he's sitting there.
Yeah.
He is a puppet in episode 1.
He is a puppet.
He is CG only in 2 and 3,
That's
but
true.
he is only a puppet in episode 1.
Yeah. And, we get, again, this thing that Star Trek, oh my gosh, Star Wars suffers from. There's a Star Trek book there, that's why I said it. That Star Wars is that this little boy that we saw, this lovable idiot kid... there's not a bad bone in this kid's body.
Sure.
It would have been weird if we would have saw him do something kind of weird, but
there's nothing there to would allude to him having any sort of snap.
Yeah.
They should have had him be...
His mom's a good person.
Right. I mean, he's emotional, but it never goes full tilt.
No.
They should have that
He
kid have a
never
freak
leaves
out.
a note that's like, don't go to school tomorrow.
Yeah. No.
Right.
And
But in episode 3, he kind of does.
yeah. And you get in episode 2, we get this kind of hot, heartthrob, Hayden Christensen, who, again, the acting's not great, but there are good moments in there.
Yeah.
And then we get this weird love thing. We get that he would love her because he even says, "Are you an angel?" Because he's a stupid kid. And, obviously he would be pining for her because it's not like Jedi are going out there and slaying. They're just working on it. They're just hanging out with dudes all the time.
Yeah.
It sucks. Sounds
like priests, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Honestly.
Yeah, now we know that they do take lovers in other stories, but
priests.
He's been pining for this chick since he was real little.
Right.
But
it shouldn't... I feel like it wouldn't go both ways like that.
Yeah, no.
If you babysit someone, I understand the kid's going to be having a weird attraction for you, but you're not going to be like, you know what? You grow up, I'm going to fall in love with you. I can see it.
Yeah, but he's a man now.
I know, but you watched him grow up. You kind of were his...
Well, she didn't watch
caretaker.
him. She saw him young, and then she saw him...
He was around.
He was... Anyway, I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not trying to make it more weird.
Yeah. No,
She does comment. She's like, "You've grown."
Yes.
He's like, you, more beautiful every day. I do like Hayden Christensen. He's not great, but I do like him. And again, I just think it's the material, because you have that weird love thing with them where they're describing their feelings, and it's not the way you would describe your feelings of love.
That's that first thing of movies, show don't tell.
Yeah, and he's like every moment away from you is agony. It's torture. Like they're describing love as something that's terrible.
Right.
And you're just
I can see where Taking Back Sunday got most of their lyrics from.
There you go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Write it down.
Man, it inspired a generation.
It sure did.
That poetry. But we do get to see the good character stuff. We get to see Anakin disobeying Obi-Wan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We get to see Anakin's fear of loss, that he knows his mother's danger.
Right.
Being able to see into the future is often used as a dark side thing, although Jedi have
Well, you know
all
what the best part of that movie is?
Go.
I don't know if it's in the second one or the third one.
Okay.
It's when Palpatine and Anakin are at the theater.
Okay, that's the third one. We'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there. Okay, we'll talk about that, because that's probably my favorite thing in the trilogy.
He's getting these visions of his mother. Master Yoda talks to him. He says, your thoughts dwell on your mother. He says the very good phrase. I'm going to try to paraphrase it. He's like, you're afraid to lose her. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark
to
side.
Love?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
And he just kind of he gives us the path and what it is. And it always, and I mentioned this I think in last week's episode a bit, but it always in the saga trilogies, in the prequels, you do get the Anakin. You can kind of see the Anakin from 2 to 3 make these decisions, but the disjoint from 1 to 2 is so
going
crazy.
back to what Jordan was saying, that where's the what? Where's the why? Where's the? I guess we get the how.
We need to see him. I would love. I said, I'm done with the Skywalkers, but if you give me young Obi-Wan training Anakin Skywalker, they're. Up until episode 1, I'd be very interested in that.
I would watch that.
To see him cutting up cats or whatever he's doing behind the scenes, because that little boy is not Anakin. Is not that kid who we see in the second one.
I think George Lucas was going for this child. All children start out like this and they're corrupted.
But we don't see the
we
corruption.
don't see that.
It's so
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because by all accounts, Obi-Wan's a good dude.
He really is.
So where would he get this from? Why?
Well, wait, what happened?
Dude, the priest thing. But we do get to see what I think is pivotal, is that when he's having these visions, he's like, I gotta go find my mom.
Right.
And everybody can agree with that. Everybody can understand. Padme goes with them. You're seeing her compassion, because in the Clone Wars cartoon, Jordan, you've got to watch this, man. But he goes back to Tatooine. We meet
Quado.
We get a bunch of.
Is it Watto or
It's Watto. It's Watto.
Quado is Total Recall.
Watto's Total Recall.
Quado. We get to see. Shmi Skywalker, his mom, who claims to had immaculate conception of Anakin Skywalker. She says she didn't.
So she never scored?
That, not to make him. Which, in spoilers, kids, in extended stuff, we know that actually Palpatine manipulated the midichlorians. And he knocked her up.
Well, maybe that's how Jesus was born.
There you go,
so,
with midichlorians.
Midichlorians.
So he goes, he finds out his mom has been taken by Tusken Raiders. They're not so good with people. And so he goes out looking for him. Finds his mom. She's been there for weeks. She's on the verge of death. Beat up. He gets to see his mom. She gets to say how proud she is. I love you. Goodbye. And this is the one time, the first time I was like, oh, this kid might have something in the tank.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
He's holding his mom and he's crying. And we've seen him cry.
We see the rage slowly build.
The way
the second he sees his mom, to that part.
When he looks up, and then you just anger. There's no tears. Nope. It is just anger. And then what's great, and I didn't know this confirmed until I watched it years later. He goes out and he lights his lightsaber up and he chops the heads off of Tusken Raiders, and you hear somebody go, Anakin, no! And I was like, dude, I think that's Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's right.
And in the subtitles, when you watch it, it says Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I mean, it was good.
It was
What
cool.
a great way to do that.
It's a cool little thing,
But give us more of Qui-Gon intervening or trying to.
Even if it was one lousy vision in a dream or something.
Yes.
Anything.
Because again, in this massive jump, his master, his brother, his surrogate father doesn't think his Anakin could do this.
Right. I don't understand why they wouldn't just go back and get him.
It would be like if you murdered cats in front of me. I'd be like, what?
I say, what happened? Yeah.
What the heck? Like, like that would make no sense.
Sure.
That would make no sense.
Well, and they really lean into that with episode 3 when it's like, we can either go after Palpatine or we can go after Anakin. And like, Obi-Wan doesn't want to go after Anakin.
Yeah.
True.
And it's one of those things where it's like, he even recognizes that in himself.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I have a blind spot for this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You don't want to see the worst in it.
And also, and it's subtle, and it's never talked about again, but in episode 1, Mace Windu says, I think it's time to inform the Senate that our connection to the Force is weakening.
Right.
Because it's something that Palpatine is doing. Because remember, the best Jedi users, the best light users in the galaxy are standing next to a Sith Lord.
Oh, yeah.
How powerful is Palpatine?
Right. He's basically draining the room.
Although I'm fairly certain because my son and I just watched episode 2. I'm fairly certain that might be in episode 2 because that's where we start to learn more about the creation of a clone army on a planet that doesn't exist, ordered by someone who doesn't exist.
Ordered by somebody who had been dead.
Oh yeah, who had been dead. Yeah, but so like someone's like pulling the strings. And
holy crap! The clone troopers' helmets are in the shape of Mandalorian eyes. That's why they look like that. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, dude.
I don't think I put that together.
Oh, thank God. Because they're based off of...
They're based off of Jango.
Jango.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed, man.
I always thought they looked so weird because I love the original Stormtrooper look.
Of course,
I'm sorry, guys.
You're good.
It just
it's cool. It's cool watching that happen in that moment. Yeah,
holy crap. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Jordan.
Oh, no,
I will say, there's also something weird with, like, the Star Wars names. Like, so Lucas originally wanted to call Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. It was the studio that said, no, we want to go Revenge of the Jedi. Lucas was like, no, the Jedi don't seek revenge.
Right.
And so there's the whole thing about like how like they had already produced marketing, there had already been a trailer released.
There's some posters
and then they walked it back. So those posters.
I've got one.
Oh man, that's
I do.
Ooh, Nikes.
Wow. But
am I bringing in for this?
Should. Oh my goodness, dude.
The Phantom Menace is a fantastic title because it alludes to this this concern that's out there, no one really knows, but it's pulling strings. But why is the second episode Attack of the Clones? The clones don't attack anyone. They're actually defending the Jedi. They don't show up until the third act.
That's true.
In a combative presence, if you will. So that's just, I don't know. It feels a little...
Well, it's attack on the other side. They're attacking the other side.
Have you ever seen that video of where that guy is like, all of the Star Wars titles have the wrong name?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I think maybe that was in the back of my mind. Yeah, because he was like flipping them around.
Yeah.
So which one should
this
go
should
where?
be called this, and
Oh man,
we should pull it up later. Doesn't it?
Yeah. I'll pull it up for you later, but check it out.
Yeah. So we're on episode 3 right now.
Yes, because episode 3 is when the clones attack the Jedi.
Yeah,
okay,
they
that's
literally are ordered to attack.
Yes.
And that's like a central part of the movie.
Yes.
And don't we find out who the Phantom Menace is in the second one?
Yes.
But I do like it in the first one, though.
Yes.
It does allude to stuff.
Yes.
Because you think it is, what's his old dual saber guy, but it's not.
Yeah. And they do a good job. Like, so, again, this is another stupid thing, but because I wasn't entrenched in the original trilogy.
Right.
Dude, I didn't even know that Chancellor Palpatine became the Emperor until episode 2. When I watched episode 2 and I was like, oh... Because if you watch them in order, you don't know that.
Sure.
And I had only watched the original trilogy once. I just always knew him as the Emperor.
Sure.
Emperor Palpatine.
And again, this alludes back to my pet peeve with the Star Wars movies and George Lucas meddling. Ian McDiarmid, who played the Emperor, was not the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
When Darth Vader kneels and the hologram comes up, it was actually like an older woman that they like had makeup and like put like a little bit of like a mask over to like conceal her face. But then what does Lucas do? He goes back, he meddles. They insert him as the Emperor. They swap out the OG Darth Vader.
Yeah, what's his name's face?
Yeah, Hayden Christensen shows up again. it's all of that meddling. And unfortunately, even though the meddling, like, it creates cohesiveness, because now you've got one actor who is the Emperor in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9 somehow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, again though, to some people it might be petty and small. I'm sure to David Prowse's family it's not petty and small. But he was the actor.
Yeah.
That was the person. And you've essentially Stalined him out of the picture.
Oh yeah. That's cool.
Episode 3 was we're not going to hit on everything because it's too much. But episode 3 was crazy. We like the look. Hayden Christensen looks great as this version with the longer hair.
When he starts to turn, that's when you're like, okay, this is what I want.
He's playing a different guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's cool. It's just we don't get to see it happen. He just is and is not.
There you go. Boom.
And you're like, what?
I like the beginning because that does set up Annie's character.
Yes.
When they go and
fight Count Dooku.
Count Dooku.
Yep.
Yes.
And he goes
he gets the dual saber.
Another good lightsaber. Another good lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
And he goes good. Yeah. And he's like, all right, kill him. And he's like, what? And he's like, he's the Lord Sith. Kill him. And he doesn't want to. He's like, I shouldn't. And then he does it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't, but...
Yeah. Oh, and real quick, back to episode 2, another time where you see Anakin doing well is when he's, like, telling Padme, he's like, I killed them.
I love that speech.
He's like,
I'm not going to lie.
Even the kids.
He's like, not just the men, but the women and the children.
Yeah.
He's like, they were animals. So I slaughtered them like animals.
Yeah,
and
that
it was
part
just like,
was cool.
It was great. The mute and then that slow dun 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 dun. And you're just like, oh, like that's like
all we
I want to give George Lucas his flowers. That was a good moment.
It was. There's great moments peppered all through that, man.
And we see that Padme and Anakin secretly marry.
Yeah, that's right.
So in this, their relationship's going. She's pregnant. We know with whom. We know this isn't going to end well. We get arguably. Is that the best lightsaber battle in the series?
No, Duel of Fates.
Duel of Fates is still to you. Okay, to me as well. But
because of like the nuances, like when they get separated. Going back to we're talking Phantom Menace, and I love that when Qui-Gon sits down, calm, meditates, and then she's just stalking. Yeah, Darth Maul just stalking like an animal.
And then Obi-Wan is just standing there.
Just standing there. Kid's kind of in between. He should be calming down.
I'm telling you, no functioning government, regardless of whether it's a constitutional monarchy, whatever it was, would build their infrastructure in such a way. All of these walkways without a railing.
I know.
You just walk through an area where these laser walls show up. I'm sorry, people. We live in a society, and
it was a long time ago, though.
That's true.
In a galaxy far, far away.
So Vader's turn is very drastic. I think this episode in particularly showed you that Star Wars could be brutal.
Oh yeah.
Because it had almost just kind of been this space cowboy thing that's been really fun. In a lot of ways, with laser swords.
Well, in this case, it's a Ronin story in space.
But we get Order 66, which is they don't give us any other the orders.
Is that beef and broccoli at Walk 16?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Sure. And this is what's killer about this is that this order instructs the clones to turn on their Jedi people. Now, why is that important? Because in Clone Wars, which had 7 seasons, I mean...
It did, actually. Yeah, God, it did.
It has way more fleshed out stuff than any of
But
this.
it is a series. It has the time.
There are episodes that are just dedicated to the clones.
It's so
that
good.
are just dedicated to the clones and the Jedi working together, and the Jedi saying, you guys aren't just clones, you're people.
Human. Yeah,
when you're done here, you're going to be able to do something. So it's heartbreaking, and that's the reason the Jedi don't sense it,
right?
Because what gets fleshed out there is that when Order 66 happens, it's not like, oh, we knew we were going to do this the whole time. It basically turns them into robots.
Right. Yes.
So they're like those people that they knew, Rex and Scourge and all of these Cody, they're not there. So the Jedi don't even read that it happens.
Right. They're just seeing them.
But the betrayal, when you watch Clone Wars, you're like,
yeah.
Oh,
the thing is, I retroactively saw that.
Yeah.
So it made it better for me.
And I mean, most people did because the Clone Wars comes out after.
Yeah, right. But no, there are some people who did watch that. they grew up and watched Clone Wars first.
But
and
see,
they were, you know,
there were Clone Wars shorts on Cartoon Network,
okay.
and then there was a Clone Wars series that kind of fleshed more of that out.
Right,
because the shorts were only 10 or 15 minutes long, and they were the best Star Wars stuff we had ever seen.
True.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Genji Tartakovsky, who did Dexter's Lab.
That's right. Yeah.
Him and his people did all that.
But, you know, I will say, when we're getting into the end of episode 3, you know, the showdown between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
It's heartbreaking.
It is sad. I mean, take out the high ground, and it's
a great line. I love it.
Do you? But okay.
I mean, it seems like a callback, right?
Sure.
And it's not. That's the thing. It seems like a callback.
Okay.
Because, like, that's why it's so ridiculous. Because he's like, I have the high ground. Remember that one time when I was training you and you tried to do this thing and I in a simulation cut your legs and arm off? Don't do this. Like, it's so ridiculous. And it was crazy because it was the first time. That was the first time we got to see Darth Vader actually be like BA.
Right. Yeah.
And then he gets his freaking legs and arm cut off.
Well, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it was kind of interesting to watch him fully turn and almost kill Padme.
Yes.
In that moment. And, you know, there's parts when it is not acted very well on Hayden Christensen's parts, but when he says, you turned her against me, but then the second, you know, Ewan McGregor says, you've done that to yourself. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. That part gets me right there.
Can we talk about the logic behind only a Sith deals in absolutes?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
You know what that is? That's an absolute.
You freaking what's the word I'm looking for? You hypocrites, all right?
But yeah, I mean, you know, there are some moments where like the tension between Obi-Wan and Anakin feel a little off. Like at the very beginning of the movie, like Obi-Wan like snaps at Anakin, like they're like clearly going at each other again, leading to that fact that like a lot happened between 2 and 3 that like start to sever that relationship more. You know, Anakin giving Padme preeclampsia or whatever that ends up killing her. Like Obi-Wan being like, all right, so now like you're stuck like the Black Knight and Monty Python with no arms and legs, sitting here on the edge of a lava river. I'm just gonna let you burn. I'm just gonna walk away. Like again, like tonally, like it's hard because it does feel a little like Obi-Wan's holding back. He does this really brutal thing, and then he's holding back. He does this really brutal thing. But a lot of the unsatisfied feeling that I had in the resolution of Episode 3, they gave us with Obi-Wan.
Yes,
fantastic. We don't have to go all in depth with Obi-Wan, but I will say, like, bringing Hayden Christensen back, like watching behind the scenes footage, they talk about like the first shot that Hayden Christensen filmed was that like that mirage of Obi-Wan like seeing Hayden Christensen as Anakin like in the desert, like watching the behind the scenes like scenes video like gave me chills just hearing him describe like what that meant to him. And like just I mean that the whole season of Obi-Wan, I was worried we weren't going to get like a showdown, even though it felt like there had to be one. I'm like, gosh, they're not going to do it. They're not going to give us a showdown. It's going to be one of these stupid Inquisitors. It's going to be something like this. It's going to be the guy with the big head and the big eyebrows, whatever. But then they gave it to us, and like, man, it was cathartic.
Yeah,
it was one of the few times that Star Wars has set a high bar and met it. And if I'll wrap up my Star Wars story with anything, I would say that probably the biggest moment, if you will, that I feel like Star Wars set a bar and met it was Rogue One. Yeah. They gave us a war movie. They gave us a movie that essentially lacks Jedi. I mean, it's really not a Jedi-driven story, it's not, or a Force-driven story for that matter. It helps explain in a very clever way how this port on the side of a Death Star just happens to be it's the artery that leads to the heart of the Death Star. Yeah. Again, clever writing it didn't feel forced.
No.
It gave us a good way to fill in the gaps there with the stories. It gave us, in one movie, it introduced characters that gave us painful deaths.
Yes.
And it sucked to see them die. You get why it had to happen. Yeah, I mean, just and it's not without some flaws. I liked the bringing back Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. I think it actually looks pretty good.
It's okay. It's fine.
It's I mean, considering how far we've come with motion capture and all that stuff. But again, it gave us a war movie without Jedi, and it was a good war movie without Jedi.
I would say on top of that, war movie, espionage movie, and then a slasher movie for 5 minutes.
That's
insane, dude.
The last 90 seconds, not the exact last, but generally speaking, there is, and we've mentioned this on episodes before. At that time, was my favorite Star Wars moment.
Oh, completely.
God, yeah.
Like, got everything.
Like, it was terrifying to see Darth Vader unleashed. We've never seen him we've never seen him as a monster.
Right.
And we saw him as a monster just manhandling those rebels.
Like soldiers screaming, they played it up so well. Them dry pounds.
When he's like, go!
Just go! Yeah. You're just like, oh my
grabbing
God.
the people, lifting them and throwing them.
And they're just relegated to their fate at that point. Like, I'm going to die.
But again, and they did such a good job of solidifying the rebellion.
Yeah, they did.
You know, because we're seeing all these different factions, these different people. And I think on another episode, I'm going to have to talk more about Clone Wars because Big Tuna, the politics of it is good. But like seeing the politics of these people who are, like all of those people meeting, they're a part of the Republic. Right, you know, they're playing parts and they're being put. So like you get to see more of that unfold.
That's awesome.
But it is without a doubt, the expanded stuff is what really makes Star Wars because it's the story stuff.
Of course.
We do like lightsabers, but man, they figured out how to give us lightsabers, blaster fights, dog fights with story, and Rogue One is... And that one has no lightsabers.
None. Well, at the end. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
barring that.
It's the best Star Wars movie, and then it has an awesome lightsaber
That's
thing.
Right. And that's at the very end.
Yes.
So
that was like just for us.
Yeah,
there was no reason.
That was it could have lacked that, and I would have been, this is a good movie.
Totally.
I'd have been fine with it.
Yeah.
But having that was like, wow. You're going through that real quick. Episode 3, I want to go to that theater scene real fast.
Oh.
It's my favorite part in that movie, aside from the other action beats, because it gives a lore inside the lore.
Yeah.
He talks about the that necromancer almost.
So in this scene,
flesh it out for me.
They're at like an orchestra.
It's an
thing.
opera.
Yeah, an opera. And you have Palpatine and Anakin, and he has asked the Jedi Council to put Anakin on the council as a representative for him. He gets put on the council, but he is not given the rank of master, which is ridiculous. Like every chance they get, they disrespect him. All right,
That's true, man.
So they're sitting there talking, and Palpatine starts alluding to the dark side of the Force.
Right.
Go for it.
Subtly. Well, no, he just talks about there's a story.
Yeah.
About I don't know that
Darth
name.
Plagueis.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. How he was able to resurrect people, bring people back from the dead. Mm-hmm. So Palpatine knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So we don't know if this story is actually true, though.
It is.
This part is true. So
Darth Plagueis was his master.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just like the part that is like we might not get to see this.
Yeah.
But it's building out the world again through storytelling.
Yeah.
Literally storytelling. Yeah. And I always make that argument: show don't tell.
Yeah.
But in this moment, it just worked because he's pulling Anakin's strings.
Yes.
I wouldn't
that
even say
actor's
subtly.
so good.
Right. It's not even subtly, I'd say, but he's just putting all those put it in his head, like. Making him turn is like, oh, I had nothing to do with that. That was all you, Annie.
What makes that scene so good is that the reason why we believe Anakin wants to know more about this is because we want to know more about it.
Yeah. That's good storytelling.
At that moment, it's Palpatine, Supreme Chancellor Admiral Fuhrer, talking to Anakin about this, this whole thing, not from a Jedi.
Yeah.
But,
is it possible to learn this?
He's talking to us. Mm-hmm. He's telling us, and it's pulling us. It's making us think and wonder, and we want to know more. And that's a very clever way to help us connect with the character because we don't want Anakin to go to the dark side. We know he's going to. We don't want him to. But when we are in the same boat as him,
right.
when he kills those Tusken Raiders, and it's like I would have done the same. That those help give us those powerful emotional moments. There's nothing powerful about seeing somebody do something that you have no connection to.
Sure. Well, because putting you in your place, would you bring back the ones you love? Would you bring them back from the dead?
Totally. Totally.
I don't know, man.
Not unless you live near a pet cemetery.
Yeah, that's right. That's
if we're talking, my wife's in labor, or is going to die at childbirth. She's going to leave me with these kids. I'm not raising them by myself. Dark side.
Dark side. Get a black nanny.
No, my gosh, you're the most ridiculous man in the world. Kids.
Whoa, we're cutting this.
That's our show. If you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. Let us know what you think of the show below. What are some of your favorite moments from the original trilogy and the prequels? We've crapped on the sequels enough. I'm not even going to talk about them tonight because this was a good note.
I'm going to say, if you want an episode 2,
yes,
let us know.
We might have to.
Yeah, just let us know if you like this, and we'll keep going with the Star Wars.
There's comics, there's cartoons, there's shorts, there's lots of things.
There's lots of crazy stuff we can talk. Wait, we can talk about Earth Day?
Earth Day, bro. Earth Day.
What is it called?
It's called Life Day.
Life Day, sorry. Yeah, Life Day.
No worries.
Also a fake holiday.
Eric, do you have any final thoughts for us?
I do. And I don't know if anybody out there knows this. You two probably do. But you know who originally was supposed to play Han Solo, other than Harrison Ford?
Oh, I have a guess.
Who is it?
Kurt Russell?
Nope, Nick Nolte.
Whoa!
Drink that in, folks.
Could you imagine?
Guess who also auditioned for Han Solo? Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, Chewie.
Then you got Nick Nolte. Chewbacca.
All crazy doing coke off the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, Big Tuna. Any tuna takes for us this evening?
Yeah, 2 tuna takes. I love the alliteration. Here we go. Keira Knightley happens to show up in the prequel trilogy. She's one of Padme's maidens.
She's the body double.
She's the body double.
Okay.
Before
so much so that their mothers got them confused.
Yeah, and like when you go back and like watch that scene where they're like switched, like I still like
you
wait,
can't tell.
What? Yeah, I'm genuinely like I thought we were getting like a Parent Trap. Whatever happened to the other Lohan sister from that movie? The second tuna take that I have is another celebrity cameo after he became famous. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Daniel Craig as one of the stormtroopers.
That's right.
So it's a fun little, and like you hear his voice. I mean, you obviously don't see him; he's wearing his helmet. But yeah, it's like one of those things that's recognizable. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Kevin Smith voices the heavy stormtrooper in Episode 7 as well. J.J. Abrams. That's how he apologized to Kevin for that Comic-Con thing. So in the credits, Kevin Smith and his wife was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I can't believe my name's in a Star Wars movie."
I think you guys might have to tell that Kevin Smith story some other day.
Some other day. We're getting into con season, so it'll be coming up. We'd like to reminisce. Kids, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thanks for sitting us through this galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
I have been your host, Roman Chavez.
I'm so Erik Icarus, and live long and prosper.
And for the Big Tuna, we will catch you on the next podcast.